Warmly welcome to today's seminar. I'm Andreas Södermark, and I'm the Group CEO of Euvic Nordics, and I'm delighted to see many of you here. Today, we have three parts that we're going to talk about. We have the first part, which is business background and common struggles with legacy applications. So I'm going to frame the case today and give you some examples of why we struggle with them. Then we have part two, why companies that invest sees better results. And for that part, we have Ankit here from Amazon, a senior solution architect, who's going to lead in proof why they actually see better results. And we have some good reference cases from Amazon. And we're going to end that part with a conversation and a talk from the CEO of Medlink, because you're in the midst of a really interesting transformation in your company. And we're going to end this seminar today by going from theory to practice. So we have Fredrik here, head of our advisor services, that's going to give you 7 tips on how you actually succeed in going from legacy to deliver business results through a modern application. So let's start with business background and common struggles. I don't think anyone in this room have missed that we are in tougher financial times. The headlines have been like this for 6 months. Recession here, recession there. And actually, we've seen it moving from headlines around recession to the consequences of a recession, where we're seeing massive layoffs. And it started in the tech sector, who saw a lot of overhiring during COVID, but it will spread into our other sectors in the economy. So what does that mean for us? So I'm referring to a big study by IDC, who studied the 6 most important priorities for us as business leaders currently. And do you care to have a guess? What is the top priority currently? If we look at the list, we have operational efficiency, less time to market, business resilience, and that could be interpreted as security, sustainability, customer satisfaction, and cost savings. We have an opportunity, but also a responsibility to deliver on these practices, because I know that technology and IT can deliver on all these. So we can become the heroes of our companies. And it's not the first time, because these are great words from Gartner saying that IT saved companies in 2020 when COVID came. And we can do it again, because we have really a chance to deliver on operational efficiency, cutting the time to market, increase customer satisfaction by improving the customer journey. We can really help our companies. We need to take that responsibility. So when we talk to companies, and then this is our respected CEO said that we used to be good at business cases, Lean and Six Sigma, but last 10 years we focus on growth, and done some more growth. Because when capital is free, everything you do is around growth, because that really gives more company value. But when capital costs 5 or 10%, it's time to change the mindset from growth. Okay, so where do we find real value? And I think some of our organizations have lost track of how we do that. So we need to change that mindset. And I think one of the ways of changing that mindset is actually taking care of all the legacy applications killing the organizations and looking how to find the operational efficiency by improving them. So let's change the gear from the background to the topic for today, the legacy applications. How many applications do you think exist out there? So we're looking at the business to consumer market, and we're looking at the B2B market inside of companies. So to give some context, please, you have 2 million apps at Apple Store, you have 3 million apps at Google Store, and I know there's an overlap, so it's not 5 million, but say let's between 3 to 4 million actual apps. And when we look into companies, of a mid-sized company, you see that they have roughly 200 apps, 5 to 10% being custom built. Larger organizations have more apps. So we only in Sweden believe there's 50,000 applications out there, many of them legacy. So that's the size of the problem we're talking about, only for Sweden. So we have something to work on. And what is a legacy application then? So going back to Gartner, they define it as an information system that may have based on outdated technologies, but is critical still to daily operations. And its legacy as soon as it hinders business processes. So when we have an impact negative on our business, it's a legacy app. Do you agree? Do you feel at home in that? Good. I see all of you nod. Okay, so let's talk about the struggles with them. So one question is, how often do Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn release updates? Yes, they do. I said weekly to be kind. But how often do you update your business critical apps? Is it weekly? Would you be able to do it if you wanted to? Another thing from these big platforms is that I think that they steer our expectations. So would you appreciate using Google at 2010 or Facebook at 2010 today? No, because they have been improving on their customer journey for us or our customer experience every day or at least every week. Still, we expect them to just, okay, this is a business application for 2010. I need to use it. Why? Do we really think that they are able to separate their demands from a professional perspective to a consumer perspective? I don't think so. So I think we have a lot of frustrations out there in our organizations. And I used to be a really frustrated superuser of a lot of business applications at my own company. It couldn't happen. It was too costly. And they didn't count on my 4 hours sitting there using this application. That was just wasted because the application didn't support my work. So we have a lot of unknown, unseen cost out there. So besides then, we cannot release as often as we wanted to, and this design isn't really up to date. What are the 5 most common challenges with legacy apps? So when we did research and also when we talked to a lot of customers, we see slow to use and bad performance, dependencies to a single developer because we lack documentation and it's really difficult to work with, unreliable and unstable. We have the monolithic architecture. It makes it difficult to maintain. It makes it difficult to update and build upon. And we have security issues. And we have known that for years, but we didn't take it seriously. Today we take it seriously. I know that rather you had a big study with a lot of your customers, a lot of CEOs, and about their priorities for the coming 6 months. And all of them are saying it's security, right? So it used to be something we talked about, but no one cared about. Now we need to start caring about the security issues. So to wrap up, we are in a recession. There's no doubt about it. IT can and should drive major improvements. And legacy applications have severe business impact. So that's part 1. So part 2, Ankit, I welcome you up to the stage. Why companies who invest see better results?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Andreas. And before I start, I would also like to ask you a simple question. How many of you are already in the cloud? Raise your hands. Good. That's a good percentage that I see. And when I talk to a lot of our customers across Nordics, one of the reasons that they come saying is obviously cost, which I am super glad to hear that no one said that. But the other reasons that we have been hearing from our customer is staff productivity. They talk about resiliency. They talk about innovation, which actually goes back to your point that you get access to the services. You get access to specialized services, which can help you drive those innovations. At AWS, what we did recently was probably 6 to 8 months back. We actually did a study with Hackett Group, where we looked at the companies which have started their journey on the cloud against two companies which have not, right? And we looked at metrics like what are their earnings? What is the enterprise value to sales? What is the revenue per employee? And across each of these metrics, what we have seen is a year-on-year growth. And this growth actually accelerates the more the companies are spending time on the cloud. And the reasons why they see more year-on-year growth is because when they move to the cloud, they actually get access to the technology, the services, which enables them to modernize their application, to break the monoliths, because then they start realizing that, hey, we don't need to build everything ourselves. We have access to the technology using which we can break our monoliths and make them more of a microservice architecture. If you also look back upon a way how the companies have started to use the cloud, or the reasons that they are saying that they want to use the cloud, it has actually changed over time if you think about it. AWS was launched in 2006. And when it was launched, what was the first service that we launched? Anybody? Any guesses? That's probably one of the things that most people think it's S3, but it was not actually S3. It was simple queue service, and S3 followed soon after. But really what we started with was services which we saw why people want. S3, as you rightly mentioned, is one of the core services because we started realizing that storage is cheap. Why not make it available to everybody, right? Similarly, then we launched virtual machines on the cloud so that on click of a button, you as a user can have access to the resources or the machines. Because back in that time, if you want to have your own machine, you need to submit sort of a draft paper and wait for probably weeks to get an access to the resource. So when we started with these core services. And for a long period of time, people wanted to be on the cloud so that they can use these services to try things out quickly. That was the reason. But as people started to use more and more of cloud, they started realizing that, hey, there is more that we can do. And that's where the paradigm shift and people started to talk about, developer productivity. They started talking about ensuring that they build things quickly, faster, and release it on production faster. And that's how, they were able to become more agile. But soon after, what happened was that we saw more and more customers asking for more specific requirements, which are more opinionated. How many of you are thinking about generative AI now, after ChatGPT, which Andreas mentioned? And would you like to build your own ChatGPT? Maybe not, but you would like to build your own large language model. But how would you do that? And that's where customer wants to build that themselves so that they can capture the market. They can improve their customer experience. Have you seen recently Klarna opening up another way for you to start your journey to actually shop on their platform? So you can say, hey, I want to buy a t-shirt, and then you will get a response saying that, okay, this particular merchant has probably the best offer, fits for your purpose, and then it kind of starts the whole journey for you. How quickly they actually introduced a large language model. And that's how the mindset is shifting. People want to get access to more specialized technology, more specialized services, be it in compute, be it in IoT, be it in AI. And by embracing cloud, you get access to these technologies, and the common challenges which Andreas was talking about can be actually resolved. For example, if I pick one of the example of unreliable and unstable, and I'll talk about some of the customer references that I have brought in today. But on infrastructure, when you have it on-prem, if anything goes down, it is super difficult, for somebody. You need to have somebody sitting, managing that infrastructure. You need that high availability. Your customer demands that high availability. And what cloud offers you is a global infrastructure, which means that for you, you can build a highly available and fault-tolerant application. Similarly, when we talk about monolithic application, As soon as you're in the cloud, what you realize is that, hey, you do not need to build everything yourself. You have technology where you can ensure you build each of the feature as an independent service. And then some of the services are already available, which means that you build some of your own services and you then use some of the existing services, ensuring that now you do not have like a big monolith application doing everything. You have independent services specifically for specific features for your application, building them together. And that's how you break your monolithic into more of a microservice-based architecture, more of something which is API-driven, which is cloud-native. And Andreas touched about security, and one of the top priority that I have been hearing from a lot of people. And I have brought a case study. So what I'll do is I'll actually talk more about the security part in that case study as to how one of our customers moved to cloud and feel more secure. So let's probably go into the real world examples of some of the customers who migrated to cloud and what are the benefits they saw. Have you heard about this company, Aptus? Any one of you? Yeah. So Aptus is one of the Swedish-based company, and they have created a solution called eSales. Now, this solution helps customers who have e-commerce business, and eSales provides them capability like search optimization, navigation, recommendation. So what customers which are having e-commerce business, they can use eSales, plug that solution into their existing e-commerce platform and get all these great features. Aptus they started on-prem and they were doing okay. But then what happened? 2020, pandemic time, everybody was online. Everybody wanted to have a better customer experience. If they have an e-commerce business, they want to invest in e-commerce business so that they can give better customer experience. They wanted to expand. They wanted to have more customers. They wanted to add new features like recommendation to the customers based on where they are. But they were struggling to do that because of on-prem infrastructure. Because the infrastructure was limiting them to expand to new features, to onboard new customers. And what they did, they started looking into cloud. And finally, what they did was they moved to AWS. Within AWS, they primarily used our virtual machines, which is what we call as EC2. And within EC2s also, we have, not recently, I would say, 2 to 3 years back, we also launched a specific chip, a new chip, which is custom made by Amazon itself, which provides a better price performance and better energy efficiency to the customers, because everybody is also talking about sustainable business today. So they leveraged virtual machines on the cloud. They in fact migrated everything within a month on AWS. And what they could then do was that they could onboard customers on demand. They could actually scale based on when more customers are using their platform. Because, hey, not everybody is doing shopping 24 hours, right? Let's say most of the time people want to do shopping during the day. So the infrastructure can scale during the day when there is more demand and not during the night, which means that you don't need to over-provision resources, which they were doing back on their on-prem infrastructure, which helped them reduce cost, but also ensure that they can onboard and release new features. So that was Aptus, which was really interesting, and I really wanted to share this. But the second one was about research. Have you heard about research? Yeah. So research is another company which is providing software which helps in cancer treatment. Over the world, they have around 700 clinics that are their customers across 40 countries. And what they do is that they have this solution called RayStation, which essentially is running in each clinic. And each clinic, based on discussion with their patients, uploads some data. And based on the customer data, the RayStation, which is the solution, suggests a treatment plan. Works well, but they want to improve, of course. We want to improve, help our customers, which is clinics in this case, to further improve the treatment plan. research, they started building an analytics solution on AWS, which they called Ray Intelligence. And they built like the whole solution on AWS. But then they wanted to integrate all of these 700 clinics into this intelligent solution so that they can leverage the power of data and provide better treatment plans. But that was not that easy, right? It's difficult. This is like a legacy application. Each clinic have their own compute resources. I mean, it's so difficult. So what they did was that instead of ensuring that they go and update each and every clinic to integrate their station back to this intelligent platform, what they did was they actually moved this Ray station and put it into AWS. And with that, what they ensured is that now going forward, they don't need to send somebody to each and every clinic to update their compute like every quarter or every 6 months. They can now do it on a click of a button because everything is online. Ray Station, which is now their platform, which is on cloud, is now connected to the intelligent platform, which means that now they have access to the vast amount of data to create better plans. They also had ability to improve the performance of treatment plans. So the earlier treatment plans used to come like it took days, but now it reduced that time to hours. So from the clinic perspective, the experience has improved, and from the actual the clinic's perspective, they are just still putting the data, but instead of doing the compute or instead of doing the processing on the stations in the clinic, now it's happening on the cloud. And healthcare is probably one of the more regulated industry, if you think about it. And they actually felt that coming onto AWS was powerful because the services that they were using, they were already compliant as per the healthcare industry, like the HIPAA and stuff. So they had that confidence that because they are coming on cloud, they are using services which are already compliant to their industry, and they have the mechanisms to put in place to stay compliant and to stay secure.
There, which I think is really good point. One of the issues is if you're a small business or medium-sized business or or evaluated, these are like checks that somebody in the due diligence to just take off because you're already in compliance, so you don't need to question the IT and legacy. I think that's actually ideal that investment bankers.
Yeah. Check exactly. So I think the important thing also is that, for example, a lot of customers come back to us asking, hey, we got a compliance notification and we need to answer these things. How your infrastructure is compliant. And those are some of the things that you get out of the box when you are on cloud, because each and every cloud provider is actually getting all of this tested. We are doing it like every 6 months or every year, and these reports are available. So you as a user don't need to do it again. Thanks for that. And one last study that I really wanted to share, and it's not something which is a migration, but it's more of fascinating that a manufacturing industry chose to start their journey on cloud. How often have you heard about a manufacturing cloud? Usually I have never heard about it. And when I talked to Northwood, that why are you starting and on cloud straight up? And they told us that, hey, we make very good package. We don't make good infrastructure. So we want to invest our time in making good factory, not in the end. And hence we want to start our third. So one key takeaway that I would really like you to take from it today is think about what your core business is. Invest in your business, not in managing infrastructure. This will ensure that you are able to cater to your customer to ensure that you are delivering better customer experience. So just to give Catarina a short introduction so you don't have to do it yourself. So back in 2012, I think you were awarded the Leader of the Year by the union
In 2017, you were one of 3 nominees for Industry Challenger of the Year. You had several interesting positions, business development at DHL and sales and marketing and at Upplands Motor. I love them. But now you're at Medlink. Why did you choose Medlink and who are you? And yeah, please tell us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for that introduction. Why did I choose Medlink? I thought it was a very interesting company with a pretty big challenge. I like to go in and do turnarounds. That's something I have done for a few times. We had, I know the Medlink since before, and we had a great management team, Cassandra, for example. I would love to work with. So that's one of the reasons. And we had a lot of challenges. I started there 1.5 years ago. We had a very high staff turnover. We had a very lack of awareness of profitability. We had very manual processes. That's actually what we're going to talk a little bit more of today. Everyone was doing everything manually. We didn't work that much in systems. And it was a pandemic. We had a challenge in the markets. And it's a company actually have had very high growth, but never been profitable. So it was a huge challenge, but I love that. And of course, what we did is, of course, to start with a culture, because the staff is everything. If you don't have a culture, if you have a high staff turnover and we're working with clients, you can imagine that it's very business critical. And the salespeople had everything in their head, the contacts, the customer, everything. So we worked a lot with the culture, and we almost don't have any staff turnover right now. So it's great, actually. And then we also worked with profitability awareness to ensure that they know what kind of business they should do, because that's also very business critical. And we did it last year and at 1.5 years. And now we are profitable the first time in the Medlink's history, which is great. And we have a lot of potential. This year is looking even better. And also due to this, we started a project last year to look at the processes, because I believe that you have to invest to get out something. That's actually how I've been running my turnarounds every time, to invest instead of only cost savings, because that's often what you do. And also I'm from DHL, we're working a lot with cost saving. But I think the most important is to also invest. Otherwise, you can't take the next step. So how it looks like with the processes today and have done historically is our salespeople, because I can say when our business model looks like when you have a job request from our customers, you have the candidate. You have to find a matching. That's the critical part. And today, all the salespeople are doing that in their head. And you can imagine when you have people leaving all the time, you have a big staff turnover. That's not very good. So we decided we need to do something to get it in the system, to have control, efficiency, and because our salespeople, they were working in Excel file, Post-it notes. They're doing the price calculations by themselves. They get the orders from the customers in the email. And they have to have control of everything, which is impossible. And when we're working with our candidate today, we're calling them during the day. You can imagine you're calling the doctors during the work time. Okay, I have a new work for you. Can you work those weeks? Because they are consults. So, and they don't want to be disturbed during the daytime when they're working. They hate it. And I know by myself, because time is everything. If you can save time for people, they will be loyal. I hate to talk on the phone. I don't want to book my travelings via the phone. I mean, I do everything with my smartphone or computer or whatever. So we are identified that we have to do something here. And our SAAS people, when they talk to the candidates, okay, they put it into the CRM system and they do all the matching in their head. And they can handle like around maybe 10 consults at a time. And you could increase this and have a better control. So what we are doing is that we're building a new system together with Euvic called Medlink, where you have all the matching automatically. So you're feeding in all emails, all the requests from the customers. You have the prices for the advanced model. All the risks are included there. The orders. And a system do all the matching. And then it's popping up to the SAAS people saying, okay, here's a match. You have a doctor who can work those weeks, and you have a request exactly for that. Because you can imagine we get almost from the region, which we're working with, the hospitals, we can get around 100 requests every day. So it's a huge amount and very, very low margins, very low margins. So this system are doing the matches, is also calculating the profitability. So it would be number one, would be the best match, both from profitability and from the matches. And for the candidate, we build an application, of course, so they can sit at home when they are with a wife, planning the agenda, when should they go and work here or there. And also they have all the job requests. So maybe they would like to change the area to see, okay, I can work with this as a doctor. Maybe I would like to do that. So it's a lot of more opportunities. And we calculate that we think the SAAS people, we should have around maybe 30 candidates and matches during the time instead of, say, 10. So it would be a great effect. And also will be unique on the market. There are similar solutions of this, but not with the prices calculation, profitability, which is very, very important because it's very low margins. And also you talked about valuation of a company. I mean, I can imagine also that it will increase that part as well. So everything will be manual, be automated in the new solution. And my goal is, we're not there yet, but my goal is that you can have this process without actually someone who working with it, a human. I mean, of course, we're working with humans, so we need to have humans there, but at least it should be possible to do the whole process without a human. Because then you can do that, they can apply to the system and they go through, and then they follow the whole process. Where are you? So I think this is will be very, very good for the company.
So thank you, Catarina. Thank you, Ankit. So you see, companies who invest sees better results, and we've seen 4 proof of that. Migrating to cloud is a must to get to the services, for example, AI, machine learning models, whatever services you need. And business outcomes are clear and positive. So how do we do to move then from the sort of theoretical part to the practical part So I've invited Fredrik Lund, who's head of our advisory services, and you've done sort of 10 different digitization journeys in your life. So I think you have some experience to talk from. So I leave the stage to you.
For you that don't know me, I work most on the other side as IT manager or CIO or CDO in mid-sized companies primarily, and done a number of digital transformations. So the starting point that I wanted, everything starts with an application landscape. And if you don't have that, I'm always a bit worried when I go out and see industry companies that are primarily visit the last 1.5 years when they don't have the system map. Because how can you drive a business improvement and digitalization transformation if you don't have it? So this is actually a map of a Swedish industry company. And they have a number of standard systems. They have like ERP, VMS, they have PIM, CRM, etc. But you also find somewhere in that map an advanced pricing thing that one guy that is really has the business acumen, he has created a very advanced Excel application. And the whole company is actually dependent on this. And when they want to drive a business improvement, they always have to ask this guy. Do you recognize this scenario when you have that hero in the organization? Hands up. Yeah. Another thing is that. So I overheard once an interview with Mikael Treschow. He was the former chairman of Ericsson, and the reporter asked him about his leadership style, and he said, "I eliminate hinders." And that is by that he meant that his direct reports came in and he asked about improvements, and they said that there were also sorts of obstacles, hindrances for him, and he was very keen on eliminating them as good as he could. And of course it meant also eliminating excuses. So when you're talking to the business stakeholders, etc., you often hear that yeah, we would really like to do this, but we can't do it because of that system, or we don't have that data, or I don't have that report. So how many have had that conversation? Yes, we would really like to do this business improvement, but okay, so that is how I see upon legacy systems. They are hinders, and they need to be eliminated. And that is my experience of driving a number of digital programs, larger projects, that you always have to address that because they are blockers. And there could be just a small application in the landscape that does something specific that is in the midst of the transformation that needs to be addressed. And that can also be someone that, his career is built on this. He knows this application, he knows the developer, or it is a developer that provides this on daily basis. And you need to handle that somehow. So if the first step was to go through the landscape and organize and get the list of your legacy applications. The second one is you have to think about it. What does it mean for the business? And not only from maintenance and security perspective, but talk to the business. What does it mean for the business? How much hindrance is it for them in their business processes to get that full 360 view? And it doesn't have to be perfect. It just, this is a pain for the business. This is a pain for my IT department or for our subcontracted developer, etc. So that is the second tip, that think it through. Put some people there and go through the list and get it up there. And also think about what is the timeline? How many years will we maintain this? What is the business case here? So that is the next. Then you have to select approach. There are various ways of extending the life cycle of an application. You can do like a retain and encapsulate, that you can put some wrappers on some mainframe system. The banks have done that, of course. But then, you can rehost it, you can re-platform, you can refactor, take it gradually the code, and you can re-architect, change the development tools and the database handling system, etc. But what really creates a lot of value is, of course, to rebuild it. Take those business use cases that are critical for the business, enhance it and the experience, the user experience, and relaunch it within that new. Because, like Andreas said, people there expect that to be the same user experience as your consumer apps. They don't tolerate going back. For example, I worked not so many years ago with a SAP and the R3 with a user interface from the 90s. It was a nightmare. I got a bad stomach feeling. It was I needed to create some purchasing or purchase order or improve something. It was a nightmare. So this is to think about, because you had this case with research. I would say that is somewhere here with re-platform or etc. It could be excellent. That's a tech company, and they had the specific technical use cases, and they moved. And it could be really good just to if you have some legacy app, that you start to take it gradually and refactor the code and take a use case per use case or model for model, etc. But I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this, why it's so important to rebuild. Because typically, at least with the companies I work with, the reason is that it stays in the map, is that it's really business critical, and I always wanted to eliminate that business pain. Why? Because then I get engagement from the business stakeholders. No pain, no gain, and no commitment. So we started, and that's all what I really recommend, to understand the full solution context. Understand what are the integrations, what are the use cases, what business process or business process steps does this application or small system actually support, and get those people in and start from an end user perspective. We have so many good, talented UX UI designers now available that were 5-6 years ago where you couldn't find them, but now they're available, and they're excellent and understanding the workflow, how it should be good from an end user perspective. And that is quite, my experience is this is quite fast. I've done workshops just a couple of days, and you have complete view on how it could work from an end user perspective. Then I recommend to mock it up and do a business case. You know what are the business pains or business process inefficiencies to eliminate, etc. And then you can create the identify the value drivers and the objectives and key results, and calculate on them together with the business. And then you start to get some real engagement and commitment out on the business side. And then, of course, in order to fulfill the business case, you need to have some good architects that knows the cloud and can do this, for example, Mac approach with microservices, etc. To get what is the TCO here, what is the total cost of ownership. Because you need to think not 1 year, you need to think 5 years or 10 years. Because that is the problem. That's why you have legacy, is that you did some software projects or sold something quickly, and didn't think about 5 or 10 years, or you were not allowed to think 5 or 10 years in the maintenance of and the life cycle of an application. So you built something quickly because you needed to solve something, and so, and that is the beauty that if you go through this, you will get the business commitment. You will also get the interest from the CFO and the CEO when you present this. Not just coming with a lot of heavy maintenance costs, that you actually can come, or even better, that the business stakeholders or business owners come to the CFO and says, "What we want to invest in this process." And then, of course, you have the build, design, deploy. And last comment on this slide is that when it comes that you have the application, etc., the training should be just in time. Having exactly those use cases, some tutorials, some video, some coach for that specific business role. I think everyone is tired of sitting on a 1 day training of the broad system. No, just in time for those business cases, just what you need to perform. And if you get you're new on that system or that, have some coach or some instructor to just give them get them past, and then they will learn, because you have already and onboarded them when you've done the UX UI design. So they are already co-creating their new ways of working. And this is the next step is the fusion team. So it's so important that you get some engagement when you're talking about business applications, that you have representation. Typically we talk about product owners, but they could be super users, and you could collect them and have some small focus group when you go through the workflows, the UX UI design. And then you need to have some representation from IT side. We typically, myself as a business architect, I help out with identifying the value drivers, the inefficiencies, and then you had, as we said, the UX UI designer, solution architect, and of course the developers. So form a small team around it. That's how you also can do the 360 quickly, that you're not sitting there alone. And this is also great for executions, that you have this team. Since you have a business case, preferably with some value drivers, then you can also feedback together with the business owner and product owner that the KPIs and the OKRs, etc., they are moving in the right direction. So you could take some cred for your system. So IT is not only a cost. So you can say, yeah, but we delivered actually this value. We helped them to improve this, etc. And so you can take some credit, but otherwise you will not get the money to maintain and support the application. Yeah. And the last thing, I think this is super important. Of course, I'm biased and talking from a Euvic perspective, but having been on the other side, I've always had a modernization partner. Why? Because my best people, they are working with innovation and business development. They don't want to work, modernization, etc. I need and they are so important for the company, for the core, that So I put this on a partner, because and they can focus, they can learn the business process, they can learn the business logic, and they can renew and rebuild the application. I think that is super important, because I always, when I talk to CIOs out, we talk about legacy and say, we're going to do that next year. Now my people are working on this, launching this new campaign on this new product, etc. But next year, it won't happen. That's my experience. It won't happen until they have this big ERP upgrade and they find out, okay, we have a lot of legacy apps here, etc. Then they need to do it, and then it becomes a monstrous project instead.